Hi, how are you? Today we're going to be talking about Solomon, the son of David, known as the wisest king of Israel. But why is that though? Come dive with me in the Bible today and let's find out. Last week we talked about David's fight with Absalom, which ended in Absalom's death. And then David continued to rule over Israel until he said, "All right, Solomon, it's your time to shine." And then he said, "All right, I'm gonna head out," and died. Since David joined God in the gulag, that means that Solomon is now king of Israel, so he decides to go to Gibeon and sacrifice to the Lord, our God. There, God gives Solomon a dream, where he asks Solomon what he desires. Come join me in 1 Kings 3, verse 9, where we talk about what Solomon had asked for and God's response. "Give your servant therefore an understanding mind to govern your people, that I may discern between good and evil. For who is able to govern this, your great people?" Pretty much we see that Solomon is asking for wisdom. He's asking for a discerning heart between good and evil, and he's asking to be able to govern his people. Now, if it was me, I'd be asking for wisdom, of course. Anyway, because of Solomon's humble request, God decides to bless him with wisdom. But wait, there's more. He decides to give him riches, honor, and a long life. You know, all the things I would ask for. So now let's see how Solomon uses that God-given wisdom. Two women approach Solomon with an unfortunate situation. Both of them are claiming that this one baby is theirs, but it can't be both of theirs. One of them's lying, and they go back and forth to the point where Solomon gets absolutely fed up with it and says, "It's time to share." So then we see that Solomon demands for a sword and says, "I'm about to part this baby like the Red Sea and give one half to you and the other to you." So this may not seem like the wisest decision, but jump in verse 26 and we'll see why it actually is. "Then the woman whose son was alive said to the king, because her heart yearned for her son, 'O my lord, give her the living child and by no means put him to death.'" So we see that this woman actually cares about this child and is willing to lose her son to this other woman who's lying and never see him again just so that he will not be harmed. And that other woman, being as petty as she is, says, "He shall be neither mine nor yours. Divide him." So now we're jumping to verse 27 where we see Solomon's wise reply. "Then the king answered and said, 'Give the living child to the first woman and by no means put him to death. She is his mother.'" So we see that because of the woman's reaction, her genuine love for this child, Solomon was able to use the God-given wisdom to determine that the child belonged to the mother who actually cared about the child and did not want to divide him. So all jokes aside, the point of the story is that wisdom doesn't come from humans, it comes from God. Our wisdom, like many other gifts, should not be used for ourselves. It should be used for other people, like we see Solomon do when he's trying to figure out whose child that is. Back in the day, they didn't have Maury and they didn't have DNA tests. They had to figure it out themselves.
Allison!
You hear him chanting, "Maury, Maury," and then he comes and he's like, "Here, I'm not the father." So as we see through Solomon's story, that is actually a reflection of Jesus. But why is that? Well, when Jesus came down, he used his gifts to help others, not just for himself. And like we see in this story, that Solomon used God's given wisdom for others and not just for himself. So if you find yourself in a tricky situation, go to God and he'll help you. God wants to see you win. He doesn't want to see you lose, and he'll give you that wisdom that you're asking for and more.